go.
The Sidelines band is cranking up from a garage in parts unknown. Rob Brown in Atlanta, Sandy Springs here this morning. Brendan Martin, Ocala, Florida, down in the horse capital of the world. Got a great show, but before we get started, take a picture of the QR code with the cellular phone. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And Brendan, throughout the show, is live streaming it. You can catch us now or catch us later. Share the show. We do it, man, every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. Central. We got it at night. Shows all over this channel. The Hour of Power on the SEC. Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, joins us this morning from here in Atlanta. Frank Duffy up in Big Canoe before he heads to Clemson. Doug Dean will be checking in a minute from Lake Martin. It is opening weekend. Of course, Missouri started the SEC off last night. They played University of Central Arkansas. That was rough. I talked to Pete Cordelli. He was on the sidelines there. It'll be great to hear his talk on Monday. Let's get started, man. Tony and Frank, this is what we've been waiting for. All the distractions. Captain Doug from Lake Martin checks in. I'm ready, Tony, to get started. You know, there's so many stories, and I like what you said. You know, it's fun to pick the games, but the stories, and you and August 18th in Memphis gave a great PowerPoint presentation, which you do every year, your predictions on the SEC and college football. So I'll let you take the baton and start this run.
Well, first of all, it's great to be with you guys. And after a long, hot summer of doing nothing but talking about NIL and transfer portal and all that, I'm ready to put that behind, close that. We can always come back to that. But now we've got the games. You mentioned Missouri last night. Looks like they may have found their quarterback, which I know is a big deal. And so it's gonna be a good year. Guys. Somebody asked me last night. I was in Athens doing a benefit for the Red and Black, which is the student newspaper at Georgia. David Pollock, Mark Slabaugh. We had a great time. But what I told that crowd last night, I said, think about the SEC this year. It's there are a lot of really good teams. I don't know if there's a great team, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, and Prebula, the transfer from Penn State. Yeah, Eli can coach, and he's I think $300 million into the stadium. They are serious about football out there. Tony, one other thing before we start moving around the roundtable. When you were in Athens last night, the Red and Black, the student newspaper, that's another reason why we love you. You always are giving back. And that is an example that I hope everybody follows. You got some good writers over there that you got a chance to talk to last night?
Yeah, what's neat is to have all the Red and Black staff members, all the students. You got a chance to talk to a lot of students, and that always keeps you young. So it was a great night, and talking to the students sort of re-energizes you, and they are fired up. So it's good, good.
And I absolutely love it. Doug, get started with you down at Lake Martin. Beautiful background we can see on the lake. Just kind of calms everybody.
Good. I'll try to be adroit with the mute button if we get ambient noise from the lake. It's really peaceful and quiet. That will all change later today, I guarantee you. You know, it's just like when you hear the voice of the great Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, you know everything's going to be all right.
That's right. Calming.
Football is here. I wanted to, and Duffy will love this. I guess what's right in front of us, especially given my allegiance to Lee County, Alabama, tonight's game. There'll be plenty of time to cover that. But LSU is on my mind because to me, this is a game that either team, if they look competent and play well, is fine if they go out and win, 9 or 10 games thereafter, the loser that is. But I think I've been a little surprised that it feels like a pretty big majority of the couch potato experts are all over Clemson on this one. They're not saying wipe the floor with LSU, but at what point, Tony, did LSU quit stocking up elite talent? That's what it sounds like. And I realize Brian Kelly has had his bumps in the road on opening season big games, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think they're evenly matched, but I'd love to hear Tony's and everyone's thoughts about that. I think LSU is going to win a close one because they've really circled this one. So is Clemson. I get it, but I think LSU is going to make a statement for the SEC. Your thoughts, Tony?
First of all, with all due respect to Texas, Ohio State, it's a great top 3 matchup. It's all that. Clemson LSU is the best game on the board for Saturday, and I think
Wow.
it's going to be a tremendous game. LSU is my dark horse to make it to Atlanta. I had a couple of chances to talk to Brian Kelly, and he said, "Look, this is my best roster." And I went, "Wait a minute, your best roster, like ever best roster?" I said, "You had an undefeated team at Notre Dame until you played Alabama for the national championship." He said, "This is the best roster I've had." And look, we know how good he's going to be offensively. You got a 4,000-yard passer. That doesn't happen very much. If the defense can make yet another step, 2 years ago they were awful. Last year they were okay, but if they take one more step, they don't have to be good. They just have to not be bad. So I like LSU in this game.
Yeah, Frank.
I agree with you, Tony. We're going into this. Everything at LSU has 1-0 stenciled on it, but Mike the Tiger. And I got a feeling that could have happened if we'd have gotten the vet team on board. I think you're right. I think we are a sleeper. I love the fact that nobody's talking about us. Everybody was talking about us about going in and beating USC in Las Vegas last year to start the year, and we should have won the game, let it get away at the end. But going into a hostile place, everybody's focus is on this. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to be able to know what's going to happen in this game on the very first 2 series. All you have to do is look at the line of scrimmages when LSU's offensive line, which again has lost 4 starters, 2 All-Americans, what we're going to do against that vaunted Clemson line. I mean, you got NFL players on that Clemson defensive line. And then the flip side of that is also going to be true. When Clemson, Kublik has the ball, what does our defensive line do? That's going to be where I think the biggest improvement could be over last year. We finally have what I consider LSU depth on the defensive line. And I think those first 2 series, if you don't look at any skill players, but you look at the play of the line of scrimmage, that's going to tell you the tale to tell in this game.
Tony?
No, I agree, and Clemson likes their team a whole lot because they feel like they have the best defensive line room in all of college football, and they may be right. I've just got a hunch that LSU is going to play well. They're tired of hearing about the doubters, and I think it's going to be a close game. But as you mentioned earlier, the winner gets a great leg up on the season. The loser has plenty of time to come back. I think it's going to be a great game.
Tony, last Thursday we had Rich Clark, executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee, on the show. And I said, what about the new metric in college football? How will you apply it? And he quickly said, okay, you play a big game early, like LSU at Clemson. If you lose it, it doesn't take you out. But it's obvious that you cannot lose to a team below you, a.k.a. Notre Dame, Northern Illinois last year.
Well, that's the incentive. Why do you play these games? That's the incentive, because even if you lose, when you get to the end of the year, the committee's weighing 10-2 teams for that last spot in the playoffs. Well, who did you play? You have no control over who you play in the conference. Who did you play when you had to make that decision? I think just playing the game, the fact that you were willing to schedule the game, gives you an edge against somebody who played North Dakota State. I don't think about that. I know that's the case, and that's the incentive. And the other thing that Rich Clark talked about is the dynamics, the metrics. I think it's in the SEC made a point in Destin saying, look, this is what we think the schedule strength should be. Here's some metrics. And I think it's in the committee's head now. I think they'll be paying attention to those metrics more than ever.
Yeah. Doug?
Tony, you led off, and I think very, very smartly, you led off talking about how there's quite a few, I think as many as 6 or 7 SEC teams that if they get hot and they get good quarterback play, could make noise. Usually we're saying 2 or 3. Some
Right.
years we're saying only one or two, Georgia or Alabama lately. Um, and add to it, and I'd love your comments on this. There, with the exception of Nussmeier, and maybe one or two other QBs, it's a year where we need a few games. I don't care who you pull for, even Georgia. Surprisingly, we need a few games to evaluate who's going to get elite or at least serviceable, competent quarterback play. So doesn't that add to the margin of error, the unpredictability
Sure.
of how the SEC is going to shake out?
Well, I don't think there's any question that this was probably the best collection of quarterbacks in recent history to have this many good quarterbacks. And so, yeah, I think we're going to learn some. We're not going to know really where we stand until we get about 3 or 4 games in. And I think because you don't know how these guys are going to play, particularly the new quarterbacks. But that's why it's going to be a fun year. And as my bride says, well, that's why we play the games. That's exactly right. That's why we play the games. All this speculation, and it's fun to talk about it.
Yeah.
But we play and after we played about 3 or 4 games, we're going to be. We'll put it this way: after Georgia goes to Athens on September 27th, we're going to be a lot smarter than we are right now.
Yeah. Tony, when you were in Memphis Monday, August 18th for the Touchdown Club, you were leaving Tuesday morning to head an hour south to Oxford and then down to Starkville, a mere 72 miles away from Oxford. Talk about that swing through Mississippi.
Well, I enjoyed the visit in Oxford. They always very, very accommodating. Had a chance to sit down with Coach Kiffin in his office for a while, and we talked about a lot of stuff. Ironically, one of the things we talked about was 8 versus 9, and needless to say, Coach Kiffin was not. He said, "No, we shouldn't do that." And of course, 2 days later, it happened. But I enjoyed the visit, and there are a lot of people, and maybe I was one of them. They've won 10 plus games 3 out of the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That kind of consistency at Ole Miss, a lot of people say, I'm not sure you can do that at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is one of those programs where you build it up, then you drop, you build it up, and you drop. So I think you have to give Coach Kiffin a lot of credit. Talked to a lot of friends at Mississippi State. I did not get a chance to talk to Coach Levy. It was a crazy time, but I did speak to a lot of people about the situation in Mississippi State, and this is part of the book that I'm working on. Always fun to go to Starkville, go to Little Dewey, get some barbecue.
Yeah.
That's what Larry Templeton is, the former AD at Mississippi State, a dear friend for a long time. He and I had dinner at Little Dewey and had a great time. He got some fried okra. Can't beat that now.
No. Well,
Tony,
Larry's one of the nicest, most authentic people you will ever meet. Larry Templeton. I agree with you, Doug.
Tony, it is. I observe, and I think the going to 9 games in the conference was almost the only option for a variety of reasons. Starting with money and the need to create greater funding for the architecture of football now in the SEC. But it occurs to me, and this is definitely true of Auburn and Alabama's schedule, maybe LSU's, maybe Georgia's, but your reward, gentlemen, if you have had great rivalries, historic rivalries like Auburn, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama, your reward in this new format, it looks like, is you get to play, in the case of Alabama, add LSU to that, I suspect. So you got 3 murderers road games,
right.
And Auburn will be, I guess, the word right now is, and who knows, but Auburn will get Georgia, Alabama, those are obvious, and possibly Florida. So Pat Dye's Amen Corner is back if you're an Auburn fan. That's is that fair, Tony? What can you? I guess every 2 years you got to play everybody anyway. Does it balance out?
Yeah, it balances out because that's one of the great things about this scheduling model. You play in a 2-year period, you play everybody. In a 4-year period, you play everybody home and away. And that's, I always give this example. Rob and I have talked about this. Texas A&M joined the conference in 2012. We sit here today, 2025. University of Georgia has yet to go to College Station, Texas. Okay,
Wow.
And that in the first 4 years of this, when it happens, Georgia will go to College Station. That's why that scheduling thing was so. I know why they did it. They did it because of divisional play, but now you don't need that anymore. And so it's going to be. And if this brings first of all, it protects Georgia Auburn. All right, and that was my wish, was to protect Georgia Auburn. And if this allows us to bring back Auburn, Florida, which was a great rivalry.
Yeah, it was.
If they can do that, then it's all good. The coaches don't like it, okay? Because you know why the coaches don't like it? Because they can count to 6. All right, and that's why. But the coaches, they get input, but they don't get a vote, and that's why this got passed.
Big
But
Canoe.
now the committee is going to have to respect a 9-3 regular season going forward.
Yeah,
and I think they will. I think because of this, because of all of this, now the chances are increased that a 9-3 SEC team will get in the playoffs.
Yeah, Frank.
I totally agree, Tony. We had to go to the nine game schedule. It was just a natural progression. But getting back to this year, I love I appreciate you saying that my Tigers are going to be your dark horse pick. I don't think it's lost on that we have a 5th-year starter at quarterback. And the last time we had 2 of those rascals, they went up to New York and carried off some trophies. So I know that's your thought. I think another interesting, besides LSU as a dark horse, I think my 2 friends here will appreciate the fact that I'm bringing up the Auburn Tigers because I think Hugh Freeze has a pivotal year this year. And as we talked about Clemson having the best defensive line room in the country, I think arguably Auburn has the best wide receiving room in the country. What do you see from tonight's game with Baylor? And what do you see from Hugh Freeze? And my take on last year was Auburn really could have won 3 more ball games. They had 3 more winnable ball games, and that's a totally different feel for the Auburn family coming into the offseason. What do you see Auburn doing this year? And and Hugh Freeze, while he puts his program, his stamp on their team.
First of all, Hugh Freeze is too good a football coach. There's a track record. Look at his record. Look at what he's done. Obviously, last year did not go the way that they expected, but by the 3rd year, he's getting good quarterback play. And I think they're going to give Baylor all they can handle. I mean, I like Auburn in this game against Baylor. And so I think this is when I say a good year for Auburn, I'm not talking 9 or 10 wins. I'm talking 8 or 9 wins. And I think that would be a good step. But I've had this discussion with a lot of people. It's win and losses are fine, but how do you look like a well-coached team? Do you look like you know what you're doing out there and you're not making dumb mistakes? And I think if you look at Hugh Freeze's track record, he has shown about the 3rd year, his players start to figure some things out, and I think they'll have a good game tonight.
Tony, I think one of the things that speaking of margin of error, and I think I sort of sympathize with the analysts across the country who have to produce content, and especially in July and August, they're trying to spitball as best they can about who is this team really going to be. But where I'm going is the complexity and difficulty of evaluating these portal transfers that come in and either make a team or in some years disappoint and break a team. I think every analyst out there has heard of Jackson Arnold, has heard of Eric Singleton Jr., has heard of 1 or 2 other, obviously the left tackle, Xavier Chaplin, who has a chance to really make Auburn remember Braden Smith, who's still in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of them have heard much of James Ash, a D lineman, of Rayshawn Pleasant, who's going to be kick returner and cornerback. And so when these folks talk about who do you expect to really make a deep run and be in the conversation, mid-November, I understand that they wouldn't say Auburn in very many cases because how can you know about these players? But coming out of fall camp, I'm hearing great things, but you got to have some of these guys show up and be alpha football players, and we won't know that till I guess mid-October.
Well, Auburn is a good example, but the thing about Auburn is, Jackson Arnold lost his job at Oklahoma. Well, yeah, he did. But why did he lose his job at Oklahoma? What was going on? What kind of talent did he have around? There were reasons he lost his job at Oklahoma. All right, and you got to drill down a little bit deeper to figure out what's going on and what to expect from a player like Jackson Arnold.
Yeah. But Tony, I brought this up on the show this week. We need an SEC network Western Bureau office in Little Rock, I think, because Texas A&M, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Max Howell watches this show every day, and he gives me critique after every show. And one of the things he says is, Rob, he goes, "You're doing great things," he said, but make sure you talk about those schools west of the Mississippi, LSU. Now, of course, they are right on the river, but I want to get your thoughts on what's going on. Texas A&M, and Oklahoma and Missouri. We talked about it a minute ago, but man, I'm going to Norman for the Auburn game, September 27th. Going to take I-40, just go straight out to Oak City, Norman. I am excited about going because, like I said, I grew up. My dad, our family's friend, Buddy Leak, was a legend at Oklahoma back there, 52 backfield. That's a proud program, and man, they are loving being in this conference. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to that game too. And I talked to Coach Switzer the other day. I'm trying to carve out some time to be with him while I'm there. Matter of fact, I'm going in a day early we're going to try to sit down together. And I'm looking. I've never been to Oklahoma. I've been doing this 50 years. I've never been to Oklahoma, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and it is. And then look at Texas A&M with Mike Elko in his second year. They've got Texas in the league now. Those two schools hate one another. There's actually respect between Auburn and Alabama, and first cousin respect between Auburn and Georgia. Talk about that. I think it's a real. I mean, it's ugly.
Yeah, well, it is. It is ugly, and what it is. I think the great Max Howell. I can't tell you how many years that he and I go back.
Yeah,
but he's right. You need to pay attention to those teams west of the Mississippi. And here's another thing: the 9 conference games helps to keep all of those rivalries together. Because if they hadn't, they would have lost some of them and had to play them every other year instead of every year. So watching those teams is going to be a lot of fun. Mike Elko and the Aggies fascinate me because they got off to such a good start. Then a couple of injuries, and then all of a sudden things start. You get in the ditch, and it's hard to bounce back. So Texas A&M is the kind of team that could really throw a monkey wrench in all of this.
Yeah.
Well, and they have unlimited resources. That's the thing. Whenever they get their act together, they're going to be a force. And it's kind of funny. We're talking about we got to pay attention to the west part of SEC. Well, it's only the number 1 team in the nation sitting out there. That's an SEC team of the Texas Longhorns. And you talk about life as a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. They potentially could have the greatest coming since Archie Manning, Peyton Manning, and Archie's grandson in Arch, but yet he didn't break the lineup in 2 years behind Quinn Ewers. So yes, he has all this incredible potential. I watched him grow up in New Orleans playing for Newman, but you have a really truly an untested quarterback, and the 2 top favorites for the Heisman are Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier. Yep. So it is a fascinating, wide open offense with, like Tony said, some of the best quarterback play, even going into our lower tier teams. So the offenses are going to be, I think they're going to be running on all cylinders. I think it comes back to old football, Irk Russell football, Tony. It's going to come down to which SEC teams have the defenses that can show up and stop those juggernauts on any particular Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Florida at LSU in September. Yeah. Keep your eye on that game. That's going to be that is a huge, huge game.
Yeah, it really is. And then September 13th here in Atlanta, as you say, down on the flats, Clemson comes to play Georgia Tech. Guys, was anybody surprised last night? Boise goes to Tampa, and Alex Loesch. I mean, wow, 35-7. And I was talking to my friend Pete Cordelli, who's on our show Mondays with Ellis Johnson, the coach's corner. He was on the sidelines on his phone. He was at the Missouri game. He has a kid that he coached who plays for UCA. And Alex Golesh, he said, since he left Tennessee, that offense has not been the same. But man, and aren't they putting $300 million into a new stadium in Tampa for USF? That is that a sign of you better pay attention to the portal, because there were a lot of guys on that South Florida team. I don't think anybody saw this one coming.
Guess where USF goes next, Rob?
Gainesville?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm by the way, I'm on their backup PA list along with Auburn. I didn't think USF had it in them. It looked like they played last night's game like they did against the 3 quarters against Alabama, when they almost had Alabama on the ropes a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Tony, you invoked the name of the great Barry Switzer. He's a swashbuckling character, if there ever was one, and I admit, because I'm a renowned potty mouth when ladies are not in the room, but Barry is not shy about colorful language either. But I hope you saw, and if you didn't, make a point of it, Tony, the show Wishbone. Did you get to see that?
I did. Yeah.
Man, it just, and some of our more youthful than me viewers or listeners would have to use YouTube and articles and talk to Grandpa to fully appreciate. But that offensive system alone, Emory Ballard creation, arguably saved at least 3 legendary coaches' careers, in Coach Bryant, Barry Switzer, in a different and weirder way, Darrell Royal. But Barry Switzer's, and it also collided in time with when these big time programs were swinging the doors wide open and bringing talented black athletes to their programs. But comment on the Wishbone is long gone, except at the academy schools, but wasn't it a truly fascinating offense to watch, unless you were a defensive coordinator?
Right. And the coaches, when it's run correctly, or as the old coach would say, when it's run right, okay, it is impossible to stop because of the timing and the way the ball moves. And oh, by the way, if you haven't seen the Netflix special on the Dallas Cowboys, if you want to get a good taste of Barry Switzer, you watch that. Okay.
All right, I will.
It was absolutely crazy. But no, the Wishbone and its various iterations. We got the Wishbone. We had the veer. Coach Dooley at Georgia ran the veer for a bunch of years. But it's option football that requires great decision making by the quarterback and precise handling of the football. But if it's run right, if it's run correctly, it's almost impossible to stop.
And I don't know if y'all remember the old Emory Ballard wing bone in the early 80s. I was at LSU 80 to 83, and John Bond came in and beat LSU 4 straight years at Mississippi State with that wing bone. And I'll never forget it. When I was a senior, that last game, they opened up a game with a slant that went to the house from the 80-yard line. And I was like, holy mackerel. Now we're going to have to be playing back on that wishbone, and they ripped us up. Emory Ballard was an absolute genius in that offense. And you're right. It disseminated to Oklahoma, Alabama. It changed college football. Wouldn't you say, Tony, in the 60s and 70s?
No question. And the fascinating thing about it all is that when Coach Bryant was in his problems in 69 and 70, he picks up the phone and calls Darrell Royal. Will you teach me and my staff the wishbone? And Darrell Royal said, yep, be happy to do it. And people are going, that was one of the most incredible moves in the history of the game, because now Bear Bryant runs the wishbone and dominates the 70s with 8 SEC championships and 3 national championships. Just think how much that one move, that one decision by Darrell Royal changed the face of the game.
And then Switzer did essentially the same thing. The generosity. I bet Texas fans, I haven't talked to any, I bet y'all have. I bet Texas fans say, hey, we love Darrell Royal, but he was a little too gentlemanly on moments like that.
Right.
But that goes back to what coaching was like. It was a gentleman's agreement back in the 60s and 70s, even in the 50s, Bud Wilkerson and that era of coaches. They literally were a fraternity of coaches, and they would share. I think much to the detriment of the folks in Texas, that Alabama, that sleeping giant, wound up getting that wishbone, with all those SEC talented players.
We had, when Wishbone came out, about, I guess, 3 weeks ago, we had another equally colorful character Tony, I'm probably sure you know him, Barry Trammell, long time the Daily
Uh,
Oklahoman, now the Tulsa World. Oh, wow. I mean, Barry Trammell is just, he's fascinating. You and Barry Trammell, all these great writers telling these stories. And I have a good friend in Memphis whose father he lived with Coach Bryant when he was at Alabama. You know who he is. But he talked about Coach Bryant in the late 60s was almost like the game. I don't know anymore. And so Friday night, early September 1971, we all remember we're watching the color TV. Some of us through the neighbors' blinds if they were pulled up. Tony, oh wow, Tony's gone, but hopefully Tony will be back. But
I can hear you.
Okay,
There we go.
Tony, when in the pregame in 1971 in the Los Angeles Coliseum, and Alabama's out there running their normal offense, and then all of a sudden the game starts, they're in the wishbone, and it's like all hands on deck for Southern Cal. What in the wide world of sports is going on here? Said Slim Pickens, and it was so. And then what did Oklahoma average in 1971 or 72? 472 yards a game rushing. Tony, that ain't ever going to happen again. And I think I heard Coach Dye say this. Doug, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, if you look at the wishbone, it's actually a great offense to pass out of. Maybe 3 or 4 times a game, sure.
Yeah, sure. It's the big one.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's the big. No,
what was beautiful to watch about the wishbone is you didn't know when, like Mildred at Oklahoma and so many others, but they were not throwing. But you got in the third or early fourth quarter, you knew a deep ball was coming, and it was going to be wide ass open.
Tony, looking at other games this weekend here in Atlanta, I'm gonna get a good bike ride in the morning. I'm getting on the MARTA. I'm going downtown Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What Gary Stokan, Atlanta Sports Authority, people like you, Truett Cathy, the Chick-fil-A family, wow, just
Great
they are
people.
in Atlanta for a big city. What 7 million over 22 counties now? They get hospitality down to a science. Okay. So Syracuse and Tennessee playing tomorrow, Sunday, Virginia Tech and South Carolina, the Beamer Bowl. Talk about what that means to Atlanta and this city and college football in general.
Well, Gary Stokan, my dear friend, he announced his retirement, by the way, earlier this week.
Oh
man, he has done.
We just had him on.
He has done a tremendous job, and he declared that Atlanta was the college football capital of the world. And I tend to agree with him because of what we have here. And so they've done a tremendous job on the Chick-fil-A kickoff games. And yeah, we got 2 of them. We got Tennessee and Syracuse, which I think is going to be a really good football game. And then I call the Beamer Bowl, the Beamer Nostalgia Bowl, between Shane Beamer, and think about where he is, and looking across the sideline to that Virginia Tech crowd, and thinking about carrying his daddy's headsets for all those years while he was getting ready to be a coach. So that's going to be fun. And so,
Shane had a lot of orange and maroon on through the years.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's going to be those will be 2 good games.
Tony, it's I guess close to rumor and innuendo now, except that it's coming from a pretty influential source. But the buzz now is expansion is back in the SEC. Expansion is back in the conversation. And once again, I can't say I'm thrilled about it, but I'm not a branding and marketing guy when it comes to TV market share and all of that. But that UNC and Virginia, UVA, are the 2 hottest names as additions. They don't feel very SEC or Deep South to me, but I guess that doesn't matter like it did 20 years ago. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is that you have to keep in mind, and I said this to the folks in Memphis on Monday night, expansion is not about adding more good football teams to your conference. Expansion is about adding market share that you do not have right now. And right now, particularly Virginia Tidewater area, think about North Carolina. North Carolina, you got all of these medium-sized markets. You got Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill is one. Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point is another. There's a lot of really great media markets that the SEC does not have. So I think, if the SEC wants to expand, I told the crowd Monday night, it's not a done deal that it's Clemson, Florida State. SEC already has the South Carolina market and the Florida market already. What they need are new markets and more eyeballs on that. And that's why I think the North Carolina, Virginia thing has some traction.
Same reason why we got Missouri. We wanted that St. Louis market.
Absolutely.
Tony, and I say this seriously.
Name their conference, but it looks like they'll stay the course, right?
Well, is it bringing sand to the beach if you bring Clemson and Florida State in, since you've already got South Carolina and the University of Florida? I mean, because I say that, but I mean, I have a brother-in-law that played for Virginia Tech, 2 nieces and a nephew that graduated from Virginia Tech. And when Marty Smith was on with us earlier this summer, and that was a treat, he talked about growing up around Smith Mountain up there in Blacksburg and holding headsets. And he's a very close friend to Shane Beamer's. I was interning in D.C. when I was in college, when Frank Beamer accepted the job at Virginia Tech. That Virginia, North Carolina, there's 20 million people there, and there's bleed over into those other states. But like the triad, Greensboro, and Lexington, Greensboro, High Point, and Winston-Salem.
Right.
That is, there's a lot of people up there.
Yep, there is. And that's why you always keep your eye on the markets, the market share. And that's what it's all about, because those are the numbers you use to charge for advertising. And this is this is ultimately a business. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. What happens in the next? This is all about the next round of TV deals, and so that's why I'm paying so close attention to it. So.
Well, Tony, let us know early, because I'll have to order a lot of Chablis. I don't know if it'll go with the jambalaya as well as the bourbon does when North Carolina and Virginia come down to Baton Rouge to play, but it'll definitely be some different. It will be a different feel for those ACC blue bloods. I mean, just think about the basketball tradition of both those schools coming into the SEC. But I think you're exactly right. It is all about DMI. It's about eyeballs and what it's going to do to our TV contracts. And I absolutely can see Sankey reaching that far up. I mean, that the SEC would then go from the Midwest all the way up to the Atlantic coast. And that's a pretty darn big footprint.
And if you add North Carolina and Virginia, you've added 2 contiguous states. That's a big deal for the SEC, is to have all these states. We're not like the Big Ten, where we're going out to the West Coast and taking all the states are contiguous states, and that's a big deal for the SEC.
We're defendable, and we're going back to the old Confederacy lines.
And you know what, Tony? The other one, Notre Dame, Kentucky and Indiana, from the top of Lake Michigan to Key West, Florida, and everywhere in between. This is the Southeastern Conference. I could see that happening one day. It'd be interesting. But Tony and Doug hopefully will be able to get back in with us. We've lost him for a minute. The other games going on this weekend. Texas, Ohio State. And I know it's a big one. I think it's the first time ever that the number 1 team, at least this is the first time Texas has ever been a preseason number 1, is an underdog at Ohio State. Neither of these quarterbacks have more than a couple of starts, at least in the case of Archie's has 2 meaningless, but they were meaningful because they were games. But Julian Sayin at Ohio State was at Alabama for about a month, and then he wasn't. Talk about that matchup.
I think it's going to be a really good matchup, and I'm not completely sold on Ohio State being a top 5, top 6 teams, but they maybe there's so many things they've got to replace. But I like Texas in this game. I think Texas has the deeper, more complete roster than Ohio State does. But we'll see. Again, that's why we play the games.
Yeah, and another one, you're not hearing too much about all these other games, but I think Georgia State, Ole Miss, if you do point spreads, I think Del McGee's building. He can recruit. He's got some talent. So, I mean, it's week 1, and Tony, I know you got to go, but kind of before you leave, Brad Bellamy's going to join us in just a minute, so stay on if you can. But I know you're busy from Landers Ford in Memphis, but I'm looking at all the different storylines that are happening in college football, and you are writing so many great stories. Football Writers Association of America. talk about some of those narratives that are out there and whether you agree or disagree with them, because you are an eternal optimist. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, I will not allow other people to walk through my mind with their dirty feet. So get us fired up, Mr. College Football.
Well, the thing that I'm going to do for the football writers, guys, is I'm not going to pick games and point spreads and all that. I'm going to do about storylines. And I sent this to Rob.
Yeah.
And, stuff like Lee Corso. Lee Corso's last headgear game and what that's going to be like. What's going to happen? I think one of the most compelling stories of all of college football is Kalen DeBoer year 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we don't know what's going to happen. History tells us this guy's won too many games. They figured they've got their offensive coordinator back in Ryan Grubb. They've got talent. We all know that. But how's that going to manifest itself? And what's it going to look like when Alabama goes to Athens on September 27th for a night game between the hedges?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tony, They haven't been there since 2016, have they, Alabama?
They have not. They have not.
And I think they're still scoring.
Yeah.
Well, that was I was there. That was if you're a Georgia fan,
ugly.
That was ugly.
Yeah.
Tony, I was just about to mention that before you mentioned Keenan DeBoer. We are 43 minutes into the show, and we had not mentioned Alabama or Georgia.
Yeah.
2 blue bloods. I mean, we talked about Texas, the interloper, but we haven't talked about the 2 blue bloods that basically have been running this conference for 5 of the last 7 years. That's how wide open this thing is.
Those 2 teams are just quietly going along.
Yeah,
with
they
their
are.
business, just taking care of things, not hyping it up too much. I think Georgia's going to have a really, really good team. Are they a great team? We're going to find that out. Same thing for Alabama. I think Alabama's got. And guys, look, and I said this in Memphis. I said, I don't care who replaced Nick Saban. And it's not like they had a horrible. They won 9 games, for crying out loud. Had a bad loss against Oklahoma, no question about that, and that kept them out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
and that's how close they were. So I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be
Tony,
fun.
what did Georgia people expect? And if you can give us a player that former Georgia or any other QB, what did Georgia people expect from Stockton this year?
Gunnar Stockton, I'm amazed that everybody is so hung up on, talking about Georgia people who are hung up on Gunnar Stockton. The fact of the matter is, Gunnar Stockton is a North Georgia pickup truck driving guy who loves to play ball, and he is universally beloved by his teammates. I said this last night to a group. This group of guys in that Georgia locker room are not going to let him fail. When he came into the game, when Carson Beck got hurt and he came into the game, one of the players came, and I got this from David Pollock, so I know it's true. They went up to Gunnar in the locker room, and one of the players looked at him and said, if you believe in yourself to the level that we believe in you, you're going to be fine. These guys are not going to let him fail.
Yeah.
That sounds like Stetson Bennett. I'm not saying they're physically the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tony, I mean, and when you were in Memphis August 18th at the Touchdown Club, you have Georgia and Texas playing for the national championship. And I've picked my choice for the SEC championship in Atlanta is Georgia and Alabama, and I've got Georgia winning. And it's because of 2 things. They have a ton of talent. They've got to replace some people, but they've got the receiver room with Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch. That's a huge upgrade. They dropped 37 passes last year, which is more than anybody. That's going to be better. And number 2, I just think Georgia and Kirby, it's a full 60, get after your ass mentality that we need. And they're so tough. They're better at finding excuses to win. So that's just what I see happening in college football. And I got my son texting me from Jamaica, all these point spreads and everything. I mean, these college kids, and he's out now, but they're all into point spreads. You got to look at the big picture. And one other thing, what you say about college football carries so much weight. It's the old E.F. Hutton. Tony, you really are. You're the eternal optimist. And I know this is your last year on deadlines and all, but I hope you'll keep coming on this show till you're 90, 100, whatever, because you got real good genes. But before you go, I know Brad wants to say hello from Landers Ford, but thank you more than you know for what you mean to college football, sharing your time with us. And I love getting a text from you during a show about what you're writing because it matters.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, guys. Good
Brad,
to be with you.
say hello to Tony
Hey,
before he
good
goes.
morning, Tony. Sorry I missed you
Okay,
when you
Brad.
were last week,
Good.
man. Thanks for all your support of the Touchdown Club.
You bet. You guys have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Too.
Brad, it is a great day always when you are on this show because LandersFordMemphis.com. You're open every day of the week except Sunday. What's happening out there? And then we're going to talk some college football picks here at the end of the show because this week 1 officially is underway.
Merry Christmas, guys. Isn't it wonderful?
Here.
Speaking of Christmas, it's a great time to come to Landers Ford. We got all these units coming back from the golf tournament, and it's been fantastic. Right now, Rob, we lead the region in Explorer sales, and we're number 4 in the nation in Expedition sales. So we've got the inventory. We're moving it out quick. We got them ready to go for everybody. It's going to be a gorgeous weekend. We got all these Expeditions and Explorers from the golf tournament priced at X-Plan pricing, so $2,000 to $3,000 off. And then any rebates you got on the Explorers go with it. They're 0 to 48, or you can get a little bit more rebate. But really excited about F-150 lease deals, Bronco lease deals, and then obviously what we've had on electric vehicles. We've had a great month selling Mach-E's and Lightnings with that power promise. It's going to end this next month, which is standard installation and a free charger to go along with the purchase or lease of an electric vehicle. So really, really excited about what we got going on here at Landers. And we'll have the games on all weekend, guys. So don't have to worry about missing something. Come out, shop, catch a little bit of the game. Alabama, Florida State's going to be on at 2:30. Texas, Ohio State's going to be on at 11. And then, you know what? We're going to be so busy because it's Labor Day weekend. We'll probably have a little night game action going on as we close out the night. So really, really excited about what we got going on here at Landers Ford this weekend, and happy Labor Day to everybody. But man, is it exciting or what? I had 2 picks last night that worked out well. I really like South Florida, and that paid off pretty good.
You didn't sweat that one.
I bet him to cover. I wish I would have I tell people week 1 is a great weekend to move the line, move it up in your favor or move it down. But it's a great time to move the line because Vegas is just as clueless, especially now that we have 3,400 students that have transferred to new schools this year, which is absolutely insane. Vegas doesn't know how to pick these lines either. So it's a great opportunity to move the lines a little bit. I mean, look at some of the games last night, like that Wisconsin game. 17 points, you could have moved that under and probably had it at +600 or 700 by moving the under down based on just some of the competition. Or similarly, who would have expected Rutgers and Ohio to put up what they put up? So, man, I'm so excited about this weekend.
It's like making a bet after the game has already been played, Brad.
Hey, that's exactly what's happening. People are not paying attention to all the movement in the aisles.
Now, are you going to go down? Are you going to Tallahassee? Are you going to go watch your Tide in Tallahassee?
Man. Dude, it's Labor Day weekend, brother. We got to sell some cars.
I love it.
But, Doug, I'll tell you, last night I got really excited because DraftKings has now put off these first quarter game score bets. And I was like, man, this is easy money. I lost everyone. I was so excited. I had Oklahoma State 14-0 against UT Martin at the end of the first quarter. And I thought I was already cashing my chips. And then UT Martin has a backwards pass, double pass, touchdown. The only touchdown they scored all game with like 2 minutes left in the first quarter. So,
the back door.
That was yesterday's news. Let's talk about this weekend, guys. What do y'all think?
Oh man, you want to feel conflicted, guys? Not that badly though. You know me with football. To be on a beautiful event, whether you're at the beach or in my case Lake Martin, and you're saying I don't see a 1 hour window that I'm going to be out on the water. I'm going to be in front of a TV.
So me and my buddies are going to my pal's lake house in Lake Greenwood in South Carolina, and we're not going to see the lake until Sunday. Till we go out and just kind of hang out and chill out. By the way, my good buddy Raymond Valentine and our group, we are so excited. We're going to road trip in a bus from his lake house about an hour away from Clemson to the game. It's going to be an all-day event. We've been waiting for 8 months for this and looking very much forward to it. I think you're going to see just great action all day tomorrow. I mean, our kickoff game, big noon, you've got Texas and Ohio State to kick off things on the first day, the first Saturday of the season is amazing. Then you go into a very interesting game. What does Alabama do, and what does Florida State show up with? I mean, they're either going to be a train wreck or they're going to have shaken off the worst season they've ever had. And then you go to Clemson and LSU at night, which I think, like Tony said, might be the biggest tussle of them all before it's all over with. In that venue, I mean, it is going to be must watching. I've got the DVR set the entire day for when I get back and watch them.
If you remember 2013, when Gus came back after a year off at Auburn to coach Arkansas State, he took the worst Auburn team in 62 years and had them within 13 seconds of winning a national championship. Now, he's not the head coach, but he and Norvell have been tight for a long time. I think Norvell is from Arlington, Texas, and Malzahn, somewhere in the Metroplex. But, Brad, that game, I think Alabama wins 42-14.
Man, I hope you're right. I
do too.
Everybody's talking about. That's what makes me concerned is everybody's talking about Alabama just absolutely destroying Florida State. That line's moved from 13.5 to 14.5, so money's going that way too. I believe Alabama's the superior team, but there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot riding in this game for both coaches. I mean, Norvell after the the year they had last year, and then DeBoer and the year they had last year and the way they finished. You got a new quarterback starting for the first time in a really hostile environment in Florida State because it's not week 5 and Florida State's 1-4, right? It's week 1 and they're 0-0. Everybody expects them to be a lot better. So I am going to go Alabama in that game. I am going to go over the 14.5. My lead pipe lock of the weekend, guys, you can write it down, put all your money you got. The Tigers are going to win in Death Valley. It's going to happen. So
which one?
The Tigers.
Yeah, smarty.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's a man that can hedge his bets. I like that.
Hey, I like the game to be close. LSU, though, has struggled every one of these games since Brian Kelly's come on board. They've all been close games. They've all come down to one possession. So I'm going to take LSU in this game, but I don't necessarily think LSU is going to win. I could see them losing by a field goal and being, their hearts broken again to start the year.
So I see you middling with the money line and the points. I see you going right for that 4.5 point middle. By the way, we haven't even discussed Sunday yet. I mean, look at those two games. Look at Notre Dame and Miami. That's going to be
big game. Big game.
Battle, down
convicts.
Yeah, absolutely. Down on South Beach. And then look at Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Yeah. South Carolina's expecting big things this year. They're a 7.5 point favorite over Virginia Tech. And look, as well as I do, when Virginia Tech's always as tough as a $3 steak. Them in West Virginia, I don't care what the line says, they're always going to come in and play hard. Those two games on Sunday are going to be fantastic as well. And Tennessee, Syracuse here in Mercedes-Benz.
Can I add an angle? This is not really analytics. It's more anecdotal, perhaps. But there are several games that, from a coaching standpoint, I'm intrigued by, and it's the home team, and sometimes their athletic directors, the people who plan game day, and even the head coach making the game too big. I think Baylor's in danger of making that game too big. The chrome helmets, drone show, and it's their Super Bowl. And I mean, I'm all for hyping a game for your fans. I think Florida State is another example of that. What did Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get popped in the mouth.
Yeah.
and I think between Alabama and I do believe Auburn in the trenches has a noticeable advantage over Baylor in the trenches. So if you can just avoid, the tragic mistakes early game that make it interesting, the trenches usually take over in the second half.
And Doug, if you think they've made it big, what about Brian Kelly saying this is my best lineup that I've ever had coaching in college?
Yeah, I think Brian needs to be careful with making it the season all about this opening game as big as it is.
Absolutely. And he put 1-0 on everything in the place. We come back 0-1. That is going to be absolutely devastating. And yes, I do see Blind Squirrel has asked me, have I heard about Tiger Tuber Kent? Yeah. It's a 65-year-old guy that just made the LSU band. He's gone back for some, and he's a fantastic tuba player. So yeah, he's going to be out on the band. So we got that going for
Is
us.
his name Pete Jenkins?
No, Pete would be the 90-year-old defensive line coach.
I
And
know.
by the way, if we get in trouble, Pete Jenkins is always a bat phone away. The bat line is on. Pete Jenkins will come.
Hey, let me tell you one interesting thing on Alabama to keep an eye on. Braden Roberts, the right guard out of Houston North Shore High School, he's been, I think, in concussion protocol for 2 weeks. I am concerned if he doesn't play, and there's another Alabama offensive lineman who may not play in this game, that could tighten that line. But it's like when you take the ACT, or any kind of a multiple choice test. If you get stumped by the early questions and you get flustered versus go back to them later and moving forward, Florida State runs that risk of, oh, hell, here we go again. We suck. We've all coached our kids in Little League sports, and you always had that Debbie Downer. Oh, it's official. I can't have children. Womp womp. I mean, you got to watch out for the negativity.
Rob, I'm feeling generous toward my Crimson brothers and sisters because I had a daughter graduate from Capstone School of Nursing, College of Nursing. But I'm just here to tell you, I love Gus and all that he did for Auburn while he was there for the most part. A couple of seasons he can have. But I just, Bama fans do not need to live in fear of Gus Malzahn offensively. I know he had some big games in the Iron Bowl, but I think the defenses and some of the rule changes about substitution caught up with Gus. And you'll see some hurry up, no huddle, and they'll have a moment or two. But that in the end, it's about talent, and Alabama is just loaded.
Yeah, overwhelmed. Well, guys, we've run out of time, unfortunately. Great show as always. Frank, perfect. Doug, perfect. Beautiful background. Let's see a little Lake Martin there before you go. Oh, man. I mean, just relaxing and soothing, man. Hey, hey, Brad Bellamy, thank you so much, Landers Ford, guys. We'll close out with a few words about some more sponsors, and we'll do it again next week. Everybody have a great weekend. Hey, look, Lights Out Gummies, Dave Bartu. I was going to see if Dave could join us for today also to pick some games, but he's feeling a little bit crappy right now. He said he's getting ready for elk season. But the Lights Out Gummies, the Pro Athletes Hemp Association, these gummies work. Legal in all 50 states. They've got energy, chill, and lights out. They've got pain remedies. They've got a lot of stuff. 6 years in the making. They tested them out on guys like Mike Singletary and Harry Carson. These deals work. They will ship your order out the minute they receive your order. They are quick. Love Dave Bartu. He's on with us every week. College Football Matrix. Okay. Also, Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, right down the street from Landers Ford. Look here. We were in Hewlett and Dunn yesterday, and Audrey got her this new pair of good-looking boots. These are Ariats for the ladies. I mean, they are kind of a bluish gray. They are stunning, and J.M. Huffman picked them out. Look, the boot of the week on Instagram, men's and women's clothing. We got some kids' boots for Chandler down here in Atlanta. Granddaughter, 2.5 years old. They've got them size 6s, 7s, 8s, huge selection of kids' boots, men's and women's, Filson luggage, Barber, Duckhead, STS. The stuff is coming in every single day. HewlettandDunn.com. Hey, how you fight is how you live. Never stop working out. Never stop getting after it. Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. They're open every day of the week. 48 slots, weightlifting while you're doing it and hitting those punching bags. They're the best. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Stay with us. The Panhandle coming up next on this channel in about an hour. For executive producer Brendan Martin, Rob Brown saying, have a great weekend, everybody. It's going to get better.